I think relational happiness is quite simple. It has a twofold pattern. First, the woman is respectful and deferent to the man. So how that functionally manifests is when a man requests something, he doesn't get pushback and he doesn't get snapped at. That snappiness. I think that that's one of the most immediate manifestations of a feminist ideology. Rubber meets the road. Is this snappiness, this inherent resistance that is not conscious, but it's, oh, this man said this thing. No. Or I didn't like that, or that didn't feel that. I think there's something deep within most men that when they see a deferent woman, they see a woman that can just say, yes, dear, okay, all right, babe. That's her response to almost everything, particularly when she doesn't feel like it. Particularly when she does not have the corresponding emotions. Now, the second part of the process is that men have to be savvy enough to reward the behaviors they want and not reinforce the behaviors they don't want. So to reward sweetness, to reward deference, it means when your woman says yes, just fucking yes. To just hear the word yes. Yes, babe. Of course. Sounds good. Okay. And then the way that she says no, if she does, you know what, that's really hard for me to do, babe. I don't know if I can do that. That's the thing about that is that's not some like cunty pushback. That's simply realistic. And then it's on the man to not be some narcissistic dictator who has to get his way, but being open to the feedback. Like only an evil man would then, you know, if a woman had a reasonable argument or a reasonable pushback against a request, only a evil and unjust man would then continually insist on pushing forward. But the norm now for female behavior is that there is an inherent knee-jerk pushback to everything that a man tries to do or say, which is functionally leadership. Most women cannot be led. And men know this. Men know when they meet a woman that has that something. And it's literally, it's the kind of thing that when you see a woman like this, she's almost always taken. Because guys snap that up. Guys know, like, oh, that's keeper quality. It's keeper quality, ground zero and 101. This is the most important trait for a keeper, because what it is it's the soil that a peaceful life is built on. There is no peace without female deference to male authority. And it's one of those things where the woman has to take the actions first, regardless of her emotions. And it requires an emotional maturity that is so rare in this generation that it is frankly almost impossible to find naturally. Almost impossible. I believe that there are some women that are trainable, and that's a better bet, that you find a woman and you simply, at a certain point, once she's into you, I mean, that's ground zero, is her investment in you, right? That she would be willing to do what you ask of her, and to say, if you phrased an exercise, a month-long exercise in this term, I would like to propose that for the next month, you defer to me with either a neutral or enthusiastic yes or okay response to every single thing I ask of you. Every single thing I ask of you. And what this is this is a month-long exercise that will come to an end, but it shows me a couple things. One, it shows me that you are capable of being led. They actually haven't seen in their own parents' household what female deference is. Generationally, we're all raised without this, but this is implicit in male nature to desire this. And then it's the thing that will make you want to cherish a woman. But it does not go the other way. It does not go the other way. Then all you've got is just the next bitch. And that's fine. We'll always date those girls. You'll always fuck those girls. But those are not keepers. We are talking about the most important quality of a keeper. It is female deference. Because it literally elicits a protectional and provisional response from men. Like, oh, that's amazing. Because it's the woman treating a man the way that he wants to be treated. All men want to be treated, in essence, like the king of their little castle. It's what makes a whole man's existence, particularly in a monogamous context, worth anything. And it is only hell if it doesn't exist. And frankly, the female behavior has to come first. Because the opposite is, if you treat your girl sweetly, even when she's being a bitch, all you do is reinforce it. And unfortunately, to make the analogy to dog training, it's one of those things of like, there's no living creature that doesn't act like this. And we are primate animals, so we are subject to the same laws. That behavior that gets reinforced becomes ingrained. Behavior that is not reinforced does not stick. And frankly, a lot of men do not have the tools for, or the awareness really, of what's actually going on here. If you're gonna invest long-term in a woman, this has to be her default. And for most women, this is not. This is a thing, this is the number one thing that I believe used to be inculturated into women. This used to be the thing that you learned through osmosis, not even explicitly probably, from your mother, from your aunties, from your grandmother. They all showed you how to do this. They showed you how to treat a man. They showed you how to have peace in the home. You just saw it, and now it's gone. And functionally, the reason is that the state is the ultimate, it's the ultimate cuckold. A woman used to functionally have to do these things so that there could be an opportunity for her to have continued provision. Now she doesn't need to. So now this has to be solely volitional. Only by her choice. You say, do you want the most peace you've ever had? Do you want to feel the most loved you ever have? Then here's what you need to do. You need to do this step first. And the difficulty there is it's very countercultural with where we're at in American society right now to say, act first, emotions follow. And frankly, particularly with women. Women have all their emotions validated all the time. And if you are going to say, nope, that's just garbage. I don't care that you're upset, because you shouldn't be upset. The thing you just got upset about, the thing you're crying about and hemming and hawing about, is because you are immature. Is because you are not acting in an appropriate way. And that's just the way it's got to be. Because the only other option is for you to, in a death by 1,000 cuts sort of sense, become a doormat. One interaction at a time. And ironically, then, over the course of a relationship, your life slowly becomes a hell. And you become undesirable. Because again, you would be slowly eroding your sense of authority. And one of the really important things here too is that you don't be a dictator. But I really believe that most men don't want to be and aren't. Most men just want to be treated well. they just want to be spoken to sweetly. They just, if for example, if you walk in to your house and you ask your girlfriend to take off your shoes, would she do it? And would she do it without a bunch of thought or hemming and hawing? Would she take off your shoes? Listen, babe, I'm really tired. Could you take off my shoes? What would happen if you did that for the average woman? I think for the average woman, you're going to get a bunch of pushback. Ew, your shoes are dirty, gross, da da da. And you know what? First of all, if you're in a beginning stage of a relationship, I think you're going to get a lot more compliance. You're going to get that, of course, babe. But when you're still in the honeymoon phase and all the emotions are buzzing around. But if you're not, if you're in a later stage of your relationship, let's say you've been dating for over a year, that's when the true test is. That's when you've got some more comfort. That's when she's not working as hard to impress you anymore. But men still have the same emotional requirements. So a man avoiding becoming a dictator, the wonderful upside about the state of modern affairs right now is that, men can't get away with being terrible. But the flip side of that is men get accused of being terrible for their own nature. And everyone loses when that's the case. Men are unhappy and women are unhappy. So most men aren't dictators. That's the most evil component of this patriarchal theory of oppression, is that most men are not evil. Most men are not domineering. They're not. They just have simple requirements for respect and peace. They're just simply required to be treated like a man. This is the most fundamental ingredient for a woman who wants to treat a man like a man. Respect and deference. Don't talk back. Just do it. What this is an ability to be led. Most women do not know how to be led. Think about it this way. In a job, you don't always get a reason for why your boss asks you to do something. You just do it. And the power that you have as an employee is choosing your boss. So you can go work for yourself, in which case you're completely accountable. So that the analogy obviously is being single. You're liable to no one. Your emotions are completely under your control, in a sense. Actions and emotions are all within your sole domain. But then, when you're an employee, you have a limit on your scope of activities. If over enough time you do not follow through with the things your boss asks you to do, you will not have that job. You will have to go find a different boss. And it will be harder and harder each time. And it's actually a thing that's documented, right? The employment-resistant temperaments are people, it's the name for people that can't keep jobs, that don't have the personality dispositional traits that can keep jobs. Apparently that's on the rise too. We are talking about a power dynamic in the same way that a workplace is a power dynamic. And not surprisingly, there's been an entire pushback against male power in the workplace. This is a separate discussion for a different day, but I believe that over time, in the course of this generation, that what it will mean is a degradation of a lot of things of quality, because you need that male sense of decisiveness and the ability to tell the truth without worrying about feelings being hurt to make things of quality. And so quality in a lot of corporate outputs or places that have too much talking about emotions without unquestioning obedience, we'll find quite a direct correlation with suffering results. And the same is true in the house. It is, in essence, a small business with the byproduct, in most cases, of trying to successfully reproduce and raise future offspring. That's the product. So I think a lot of people find that they experience more positive emotions unilaterally when they're doing a good job, when they're following through with what their employer asks. And not only that, but they're growing. in that capacity. They are seeking to find ways to continually add value to the company. It's how you become exceptional, and it's how you stand out, and it's how you have a satisfying and fulfilling career. Female deference is ground zero to happiness, and it is so rampantly unnatural now that society's not going to reinforce that this is a desirable method of female conduct. It's actually relatively taboo to say that, first of all, you don't validate all of women's emotions. Or maybe, furthermore, that most women's emotions are not worth validating if they are not acting appropriately. That women will almost certainly get cherished and loved and doted on and committed to by men if they can act this way. But very few women do, and very few women even know how. Now, there are caveats to all this, because the problem is it only takes one turd, to spoil the batch. So there's going to be the one fucked up sociopath dude that makes it so that all men, or the one, complete domineering dictator guy that makes it so that the truth here gets spoiled. And the truth is that most men are not evil. But most men don't even have the capacity to show their true colors, to show that they're capable of being leaders and that they're capable of being good when they are given deference. Because most men never truly get it. They never even have an opportunity to show how they'd act if a woman was sweet and ideal. It is kryptonite for an average man to have a woman act like that. It is irresistible when a woman is just sweet and doesn't talk back to you or snap at you. Just her default mode is a peacemaker. And it makes it so that a man can work, or he doesn't have to spend, his energetic bandwidth, his mental capacity on these emotional issues. And without a woman like this, I think it's impossible to really have a successful monogamous dynamic.